So now let's look at the dates and time function in DAX. All right. So we have a sample data set that we'll have to insert here using CSV. Okay. Date and time, and we'll say open. We have our data set loaded. We have our data set loaded. So to basically work on measures or calculated columns, we have to head on to our data view to look at our table. Okay. Now we need to add a calculated column for work hours. But before we do, I want to basically share some DAX date and time functions with us. We have the date, we have the time, we have date if, we have year, month, and day, we have hour, minutes, and second, we have today, and we have now. So let us go ahead and add a calculated column for work hours. If you look at our data set, we have employer ID, we have the dates, we have check-in time and checkout time. So the calculated column for work hours will do what? Will take account of the check-in time and the checkout time. Okay. So let's go on. But before we go on, I think we have to rename our table. Let's call it employee attendance. We click on the table and say new column. So we have our formula bar open. So to insert a column that calculates the work hours, we want to enter a function called dated if. So our column name will be work hours, right? So equals the function now, dated if. Then we open parentheses to enter our table name, which is employee attendance. Then we open square bracket to reference the column in question, which is check-in time. Then we close the square bracket. Then we'll say comma. We want to look at the checkout time as well. So we'll reference the table again, say employee attendance, open our square bracket, and this time checkout time. This time checkout time. Then we'll say comma, and how do we want to calculate it? We want it to come in hour. We'll pick hours and then close brackets. Then we'll hit enter. So now we have inserted a column, which is work hour, and it has calculated the hours in time. What it calculated is the time between the checkout time and the check-in time and the checkout time. So what it calculated is the time between the check-in time and the checkout time. And we could basically see the work hours now. So let's enter another calculated column. Say this time we'll work on the minutes, right? So we go ahead and say we want new columns. So then what will be the title of this new column? We want to say work minutes, right? And equals the function we use to calculate this is the dated if. So we'll say dated if. Then we open our parentheses, then reference our table, which is employee attendance. Then we want to check the difference or the time in minutes between our check-in time and our checkout time, right? We'll go ahead and pick check-in time, then say comma. We want to also look at employee attendance checkout time. This time they want to calculate in minutes. Then we pick minutes and close the parentheses and hit enter, and it calculates the time in minutes. Okay, so that's how we calculate minutes. So now that we have calculated minutes, we need to calculate the total, right? If it were in Excel or Microsoft Excel, we could just come here, calculate the sum and so on. But this is Power BI, and to do such calculations, we'll use measures, right? We need to use measures rather to calculate the total work hours and the total work minutes, okay? So to calculate the total work hours, we'll go ahead to our table tools and say we want a new measure. So this new measure will be called total work hours. So say total work hours equal the sum of employee attendance in hours. Okay, so this is the work hours. This is a column we want the total, and that's why we have it there. Then close our parentheses and hit enter. So we have a new measure called total work hours. So let's calculate another measure called total work minutes. So we head on to table tools and we'll say new measures, right? And this measure is called total work minutes, okay? Equals, since it's the sum, the function is sum, then we reference our table, but this time it makes it easy because we want to work on employee attendance as a table and the column work minutes because we want to calculate the total work minutes. And then we close our parentheses and hit enter. Now we have a new measure called total work minutes. So let's add another measure. And this time, the measure will be on total work days. Okay, so to do so, we head on to new measures again, and we want to now calculate the total work days. So definitely our title will be total work days. Okay, so equals, so we'll use the function distinct count. Okay, we open our bracket and then we reference our date column in our employee table. So we have it here, our date column in our employee attendance table, and then we close. So we press enter to calculate our total work days. So what if we wanted to calculate our average hours per day? That is the average hour an employee worked per day. How do we do that? So we definitely need to create a new measure, right? So what if we want to calculate the average work hour per day? So we definitely need to enter a new measure, yeah? So we will enter this new measure now and say the new measure will be called average work hour per day equals, so we want to use the measure total work hours divided by the other measure total work days to achieve this. So we will open this time our square brackets and pick this measure total work hours, or we can write it. Then we say divide by another measure total work days. When we press enter, it gives us our new measure, average hour per day. Back to calculated columns. So in this case now, we want to create some calculated columns that will basically separate our year, separate month and day, okay? So to do so, we will click on our table and say new column. So in this new column, we'll call it year. So we'll say year equals year, the function year, open brackets, our table name, which is employee attendance, open square brackets, and we pick the date column, right? And then we close our square brackets and then close our parentheses. So what we did now is that we want to separate the year from this date column. So we go ahead and hit enter, and then we have our calculated column correct. So we successfully picked the year out of this. Now to add another column that helps us calculate or extract the month, it's quite simple. So say new column, and on this new column, we want to call the column months, right? And say month equal, the function this time is month, okay? Then we'll open our brackets. Our table name is employee attendance, right? And we want to separate the months or extract the months from the year, the date column rather, from the date column. Then we close this, close our brackets and say enter. So this helps us separate our months. And if you notice, the months are all January, and that is why it separated it as 1. Okay. Then what about the day? We could easily separate the day by adding new column. And this time the function that we'll use is the day, but our column name will be day equal. Then we use the function day, open bracket. Our table name is employee attendance. Okay. And we want to separate it from our date column. All right. Then we close our bracket and hit enter. So we're definitely going to have a new column called day. So we have the first day, then the second day of the week, which is Monday, the first day of the week, which is Sunday. All right. So the importance of adding measures and calculating columns is so that we can really transform our data to have key performance for our dashboard visualizations. Now that we've entered calculated columns, we were able to use our calculated columns to enter new measures, and those measures will be very beneficial in our dashboards, specifically when we want to enter cards. Example, if we will go back to our report view and insert cards, after inserting the cards, we then check on our data pane for measures. For instance, these are measures. The measures are the ones that look like a calculator before them, right? We pick average work, for instance, average work hour per day. So we have this. So if we were to slice through various days and year, for instance, you are going to see that we will definitely have it change for average work hour per day. Let's insert another card and we look at that. On this card, let's pick our total work day. Total work day, as our data set provides, is 2. So you can go ahead basically and insert the necessary cards and the necessary